I just love the delegate story because I feel like we've had a little input into the wine industry globally and changing how delegates decide what to sell where. And because I'm so passionate about wine, I feel like I've had a little input into that. So that's great. Jason, previously we talked around your process and how you've designed it and the evolution of your planning solution. Everyone's talking about integrated planning and it's a new buzzword, and integrated planning. And I know you guys have had some experience around integrated planning, disconnected planning. Just tell me a little bit about what you guys have done and where you're at today around that.
So TM1 for us at the moment is very much a business planning tool. One of the stress tests it does get is trying to jump into the S&OP playing field when it's designed actually for business planning. And that's an interesting one as a financial planning manager to handle that, I guess, tension between what people expect to come out of the system and what they need it to do for their decision making. And the recent development we've done with Mindful has actually opened everyone's eyes to say, well, the TM1 tool is very much a business planning tool in its current design. Not to say it can't be an S&OP tool, but in our company, that's what it is. So what we're now looking at is going, well, how do we attack this S&OP piece and systemize it? Because I've seen the power of what we can do with the business planning side of things is now going, how do we attack the S&OP side and integrate the two? And they're very much interdependent, but also very much separate, because the foundation of our business is based on 10-year plans, and we will never move away from that, because it's the core of how we plan. And I think it's one of the successes of the business is its planning ability at that strategic level. It's then looking at going, well, how do we automate and process the S&OP side, but actually link that into the business planning piece that we've got going at the moment. So that's the vision that I have for the business in my area, and our managers are open to that.
Fantastic. So a lot of our customers, they talk around integrated planning, and they love the fact that I can change a number in my HR and my personnel planning, and it automatically flows through my P&L, my balance sheet, and it's all integrated. And I change a number, my travel policy and my travel budget, and all of my numbers are changing and affected, and it's great. But for some customers, when you have a lot of budgeting users, it can be quite frustrating that, who's changed the numbers and the numbers have moved. And I know there's a thought process that it's all integrated and changing, but there's a big move towards disconnecting the planning, so we can focus on different areas and then bringing them all together and then simulate that. What are your thoughts, Michael, on integrated planning, disconnected planning?
Yeah, I think Jason raised a good point earlier just around gatekeeping. So, the solution allows you to do integrated planning, but I guess what's important is centralizing the data and just having it all in one place, so that when someone changes something, they can, they're using the same platform to do that. And the change can also affect, down and upstream models. But you've also got the version control as well. So they can just change their version of it, and then at a point in time, those changes can flow into the other areas of the system. So I guess integrated planning is it's great, and just having everyone using the same platform and there's integrated models works well. But we still need that gatekeeping as well, just to disconnect the plans when they need to be disconnected.
So you touch a little bit around gatekeeping and that sort of thing. Jason, how did the tool, or is the tool changing the culture or the people or the resources?
It is, yeah. The gatekeeping for us is great because it's control. You want it all to be linking in off the same song sheet, and that's what you experience with spreadsheets, right? Is every separate manager in the departments of the business is building a spreadsheet that suits them, and they're not developers. They're the expert in their management area, but they're having to use a tool which is highly customizable, then feed up into a planning solution that now is on different languages, I guess, between spreadsheets. So from that perspective, it's really handy for us to actually pull it together in the system and gatekeep and be able to pull through data when we want. But then the main thing is that the data integrity flows right the way through the model. So we're all speaking the same dimensions, we're all speaking the same hierarchies around data and how that works. So that, from a culture perspective, was a big learning for us, because when we went through this modeling and had to develop it, we actually had to put our grown-up pants on and sit down and say, what are the terms of the data that we want to use? What do we call a product? Like, what do we call a region? What do we call, months and times and hours and all that sort of thing? It sounds simple, but if you went around the business, everyone's got like a slightly different tweak around what they think that is. And moving to that integrated planning you talked about before, that's imperative. Otherwise, it just doesn't flow. And for us, everyone's eyes have opened around that and going, you know what, we actually have to start at the bottom, figure out and compromise on a few things. But once we get that data integrity right, it will just flow up and down, which is great.
That's a great point around the different definitions of data. We have one client that they were saying in the business, that's a project, and they're saying, no, that's actually a cost center. And there was very clear through discussion with the business themselves weren't even sure about these definitions of data. Yep. What do you think, Michael? Can you use a planning tool to help with these business rules around data and definitions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess you need to spend a bit of time up front just making sure the structures are correct, and there may be some business process changes because of it. But I think it's key just having, using the solution to force you to establish this common vocabulary between, the different areas in the organisation. I mean, one of the things that comes to mind is an organisation I was working with a little while ago. They basically had a different organisational structure when they were talking HR or workforce planning to their actual cost centre structure. And, they didn't really align. So it was very difficult to get a common view between those different models. What we actually did during the process is just align those structures. And one of the great things about the solutions that we use is you can have multiple hierarchies, or you can set up different ways to roll up your data. So these different departments can get these different views as well, but still aligning the different structures.
So we talked a little bit earlier about version control and versions. I had a particular customer that called me and said, the versions are out of control. And I said, why? And we looked and they managed to create 50 different versions of the budget. And I said, what's number 47? And no one knew. I'm not sure. What are best practice? Because it's so flexible. You can create all these versions. Give some business advice around how do you manage all these different versions?
What we encourage organisations to do is to have different working versions. So, you might have, let's say you need 5 different iterations of the plan on the go at any one time. You say, okay, that's working version 1, 2, and 3, or working budget, working forecast, etc. And then they actually use those working versions to produce the results that they're looking for, and they just take a snapshot of those at a point in time, and they create like a static version. Okay. So I guess the key thing here is to work in these live versions or live scenarios, and then just take snapshots of key points and times, and those snapshots become the different cuts of the plan that you're reporting off.
Interesting, Michael, you and I also talked around some of our customers do have these snapshots of the budgets, and some of them also want to take a little piece of the budget or the budget offline. I want to do my thinking before I commit it back to it. Is there any sort of functionality, Michael, where you can take pieces of it or a snapshot, or I want to do my modeling and thinking and then before committing it back to the model?
Yeah, it's absolutely. So there's built into the solution, there's a sandbox feature, which allows you to basically just create your own little playground. Maybe this is my optimistic version or my pessimistic version, and I can essentially enter my numbers into that snapshot, throw them away if I'm not happy with them, or otherwise commit them back to the live plan as well. So I guess, you're really in control of, what numbers feed into that live plan.
Michael, any sort of horror stories or pitfalls or advice you can give to customers that are starting on this journey?
Yeah, just around the business process, understanding and aligning to that business process is quite key. But the other point I'd like to raise is just around, the technology is essentially, modular. So, you can build a financial model, which essentially summarizes your information by account and by business unit. And then you can attach other models onto that, as you go through the process. You don't have to do, a big bang approach and do everything at once. You've got that ability too. So yeah, you need to really just focus on, where you're going to get the most bang for your buck first. And then, as time goes through, if you have a need, you can add additional models and, layers of complexity. I used to say, just do everything. Start off very, very simple and just add layers of complexity if you need to. So, don't go and build the really complicated model from day one. Just build a simple model and get some quick wins on the board.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you.